For a lot of people, that word family can feel, well, heavy. Less like a warm hug and more like this huge weight you have to carry. We've all heard it, right? You've got to help them. They're family. But what if that very idea is the source of so much of our suffering? Today, we're going to flip that idea on its head completely.
Does any of that ring a bell? That feeling of being trapped by these obligations, stuck playing a part you never really signed up for? If you're nodding along, then this is for you. We are going to walk through a way to break free from those heavy chains and find a much, much lighter way to live. So let's get into it.
All right, the very first step here is a pretty radical shift in how we even think about family. What if? What if the people you were born to weren't some team you're stuck with for life? What if it was something else, something temporary, like a training ground?
We're taught to think of family as this team of destiny, but from a soul's perspective, it's actually more like a classroom. Yeah, a classroom. And every member, your parents, your siblings, they're just classmates, souls who all have their own lessons to learn, brought together for a little while to help each other grow.
So let's break down the roles. Think about it. Maybe your parents are actually trainers, preparing you for how to deal with an unreasonable boss later in life. And your siblings, they're your rival trainers, teaching you how to handle competition. See, their difficult behavior isn't just random chaos, it's custom designed to polish your soul. That sibling that drives you absolutely crazy, they might just be the perfect trainer to teach you the incredibly valuable lesson of letting go.
And that brings us to let's call it the final exam of this family classroom, the inheritance dispute. This is so often the most fiery, intense trial. It's like the final gate you have to walk through to truly graduate and get your spiritual freedom from all these old ties.
So what's really going on when families fight over inheritance? When siblings are at each other's throats over a piece of land, or money, or some old piece of furniture? Let me tell you, it is almost never about the things. Underneath it all, it's a desperate, painful search for a proof of love from their parents.
This quote just nails it. The demand for more isn't really about greed. It's a primal cry from a part of us that feels we didn't get enough. It's a cry that says, I need to know I was loved more than they were. The inheritance just becomes the final, physical scorecard for a lifetime of feeling unseen or unloved.
So how do you pass this final exam? Well, here's where we get to the mature, high-level solution. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to sound completely backwards. The way to win this fight is to be the one who yields, the one who steps down. The path to real victory is actually pretty simple, though it might not feel easy. First, you just remove yourself from the battlefield. You step down. Second, you graciously let go. You say, you know what? Please take it. It's yours. And in that moment, you make a conscious choice for a totally different prize, freedom and lightness for your own soul.
Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. You are not losing. You haven't been defeated. What you've done is make a brilliant strategic trade. You're simply exchanging one type of asset for another, far more precious one. Let's look at what's being traded. Okay, so they get the material things, but attached to those things is all this heavy energy, right? The attachment, the conflict, what you might call some seriously heavy karma. That's a huge spiritual weight. And what do you get? You get freedom, you get lightness in your spirit, and you gain the virtue that only comes from taking the high road. You get to walk away, clean.
In the grand scheme of things, success isn't about how much stuff you can pile up. It's about how light you can become. Because the lighter you are, the higher you can fly. So trading stuff for virtue, that's not losing. That is the winner strategy. Every single time, the one who yields is the real victor here. And look, this idea of choosing lightness, it applies to every difficult family relationship, not just fights over money. So how can we use this to disconnect from other heavy energetic chains? The bottom line is, you don't have to force yourself to be around relatives who just drain you.
Creating that healthy distance happens on 3 levels. First, physically. Protect your own energy. If being around someone literally makes you feel unwell, it's okay to step away, period. Second, mentally. Start to see them as an actor who's just playing a very difficult role in your life story. Observe them from a distance, like you're watching a play. And finally, the karmic level. The tie is truly severed when your anger transforms. When you can look at them and feel a sense of pity for whatever struggle they're in, that's when you know the lesson is over. And often, they just naturally fade out of your life. So what happens next? After you've passed the tests, learned the lessons, what's waiting for you after you graduate from this sometimes painful classroom? Well, you finally make room for your true family to show up.
It's time we let go of that old, restrictive definition. We have to understand that real family, true family, has almost nothing to do with blood. That was just the classroom you were assigned to for a while.
Once you become a spiritually independent person, free from all those old karmic debts, you start to attract your soul family. These are your true companions, the people who just get you, who resonate on the same frequency. With them, you don't even need words. The understanding is just there.
So, the path forward is actually pretty clear. The first job is to energetically tidy up that old classroom, your family of origin. Settle your spiritual accounts, pass those final exams, and get your graduation certificate with a smile. This isn't about angrily rejecting them, it's about gracefully completing the course.
And that brings us right here, to the final question that only you can answer. You hold the key. By choosing freedom over fighting, by choosing lightness over attachment, by choosing virtue over things, you can walk out that door. So, are you ready to graduate?